If you have recently arrived in Panama or you are interested in what goes on here, I want you to know November is going to blow your socks off. There is a lot that goes on in Panama in November. This is when we celebrate Fiestas Patrias. Okay, that means those are patriotic holidays. And if you've heard me say that before, that Panamanians are highly patriotic, they are proud of their culture, they are proud of their history. They don't miss an opportunity to celebrate and to say somos orgullosos, they said, Panameños. They're happy to be Panamanian. It's something that I actually admire because, a lot of us struggle with identity, where we belong, who we are. Panamanians know exactly who they are, and that's what makes these people. Because when you don't have to worry about who you are, where you belong, I think it just takes away a lot of the stress, which what plagues some of us. Okay. But anyway, I'm gonna try not to mess it up. If you know the history of Colombia, you know that the Spanish came down in the 1500s and just took over. And of course, they went from central to south, the Caribbean, because we were like, up for grabs. It depends on what they find and what they want, what they claim as theirs. So for over 300 years, this region was under colonization. Let's call it for what it was, colonization. All right. So in that 300 years, they've stamped their culture, they brought their ways, and that's why you have such heavy Spanish influence. Okay. So they also remember that whenever they see a place, they have strategic interests as to, in addition to just taking your land and, structures and everything and uh traumatizing, killing your people, the indigenous people. They also saw, especially in Panama, a strategic spot, right? So they were like, well, the ships coming from wherever had to go all the way down south and then turn around to get to the Atlantic side. And they're like, Panama being that little isthmus, it's like in the middle here, that's a strategic point. If we could just create like a railroad or some kind of a transfer from one point to the other, that would be strategic, right? So in 1821, the Panamanian people became independent from Spain. Okay, so we know that the people who used to live here first were the indigenous people, right? But remember, when they started building the canal in the 1800s, when they realized the strategic opportunity they could have with Panama because of its location, the French, and I forgot the name of I don't know if it was an engineer or what, decided to create a canal based on the Suez Canal, the way it worked. But what they didn't bank on is the infrastructure, what we have here, the terrain. And if you watch the movie, when you come to see the canal, you're going to hear about all that. So they were challenged with the infrastructure, and what was most challenging for them was the tropical diseases that were killing the workers. So they gave that up. Okay. So once they got independence from Spain, then they joined what they call Grand Colombia, and that included, let's see, it included Panama, Colombia, Venezuela, I think Ecuador, and Peru. Yes. So that was from the Grand Colombia, okay? And in 1830, the Gran Colombia collapsed, and then Panama then attached itself to Colombia, became part of Colombia. All right. In 1846, they signed a treaty with the US to build a railway through Panama. In the 1800s, like I said, 1880s, the French came, tried to do the canal, and that didn't work. And then now in 1903, Panama said, okay, we want to separate from Colombia. And the US was critical in supporting Colombia in that wish that they had because ding, 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 the canal. We want to be the ones to build the canal and get first dips and do the grabbing, right? So in 1903, once Panama splits from Colombia, then the US came in and offered to build the canal. So they had challenges, but not as much. And again, watch the movie at the canal, Miraflores, and you could get all the details about that. Okay. In the 1914, the canal was done. But during that time, from the 1880s, 1846, maybe in the early 1900s, they established the canal zone. And you need to read about that because it was almost like an apartheid system that they brought here to Panama. You need to read about the gold system and the silver system that established. And of course, when they were building the canal after they lost all those people to diseases, they're like, let's bring the Black folks. They're resilient, they're tough, they can build a canal. So yes, they recruited people from the Caribbean island and from Africa. Yes, 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 yes. And we came in, we did it. They built a canal, and it wasn't just, Africans and Black folk. They had people from Asia who came as well. And I'm sure they had some Europeans as well, because, you're building the canal, you have business opportunities, and it was up for grabs, and everybody wanted part of it. Looked like the gold rush in, in the US, right? So the canal zone, okay, it's a whole history by itself. So in 1914, the canal was done. And then the whole time you have the US managing the canal and getting all the benefits, the ships coming through, the proceeds. I think they paid Panama a few millions, and every year they would give Panama a little bit of money. But of course, just like what's happening in Africa, they come, they use your land and your resources, and they get all the gold and all these other minerals and stuff, and they give you pennies. That's what was happening. But I think I'm not going to go into the details about the president, Torrijos, and all these other folks who said, you know what, I think we need to get the canal back. We can make it work and get the proceeds from our own, canal. The canal is here in Panama. So there was an incident, I forgot what the year was, where some kids were killed because they wanted the Panamanian flag to be flown inside the canal zone, and that was a no, this is the US. So there was a scuffle and some kids died. And I think that was, I read that it was really what caused people, the president of the United States and the president of Panama to say, it's time. So finally, in 1999, President Carter, I think they signed a treaty to hand it over, like in 1977. So it took years of them still getting the proceeds to finally give it to Panama in 1999. Well, the threats now about, oh, we want to take it back because, we don't talk politics on this channel, and I think this is the thing. People need to read history. And the people who are in La La Land do not read history. And history is repeating itself over and over, and it's the same mindset. Grab, grab, grab. But anyway, so the canal now is under Panamanian ownership, and there's a canal authority that manages it, and it looks like it's been doing well. The canal has been profitable, And even though we had some challenges, a couple of years back with droughts, but they managed and they've expanded it. And I think that's one of the reasons people say that Panamanians are used to having Americans here because Americans have been part of Panama's history for a long, long time. Whether the history was positive or not, but that's the truth. In 1989, you guys knew, if you read history, you know about the invasion to try to get Noriega out. And I just read there were multiple reasons why they invaded in 1989 because they wanted to protect democracy, they wanted to protect American lives, and then, of course, they wanted to get rid of Noriega. And again, I don't want to get political here, but that caused some damage. Lives were lost. And again, this is one of the reasons I say Panamanian people are just so unique that after everything in that history that we have, young people getting shot, bombs being dropped in your community to get one person out, people dying. I met an older gentleman who said that he lived in El Chorillo where the majority of the bombs were dropped. And that, he lost his wife and because his building was targeted. And they said that's where Noriega was in El Chorillo, and El Chorillo has not recovered yet. Okay. But anyway, what do we celebrate? This is just a little bit of history about Panama. If you're moving here, you need to go read the history of your new home. This is homework that is required reading, okay? But anyway, what do they celebrate here in November? Now, remember, as I said, Panamanians are unique in the sense that they love their history. They love the fact that what my friend Hilario calls they are a paella of cultures. That's why people feel comfortable here because we are a mix. They are a mix of indigenous, the original owners of this land. Okay, I don't want to get into another tangent here. I don't want to go off. Then you have Africans who came, Caribbean people who came, Chinese people who came, Asian people who came, and don't forget the European, the Spanish people. They're here. I mean, yes, their great-grandfathers were the colonizers. Well, their descendants are here. So they are able to live in peace. But what they will not do is forget from whence they came from, their history. So they celebrate all the history. So get ready. In November, what we celebrate, November 2nd. Thank you, Hilario. But, I was doing research on that anyway, but he likes to keep me straight. November 2nd, I think it's Sunday, right? We're going to celebrate All Saints' Day. This is the day, let me see. Yep, it's Sunday. This is a somber day. This is like Memorial Day. And they remember people who died for the Patria. Remember, Patria is like my country, 'tis of thee, our land, our Panama, the source of their pride. So on Sunday, it's going to be all the holidays in November I'm going to mention are going to be días secos. That means dry days. You are not allowed to drink alcohol. If you go under your cupboard, nobody sees you. At home, I'm sure it's okay. So if you're into booze, you have to get those before on the off days because you're not going to be allowed to go into Super 99 and buy wine. All the sections are going to be condoned off. You're going to see the tape. That means you cannot buy alcohol. You cannot consume it. It's because of it's a somber day, you cannot play loud music. And definitely you're not going to hear on that day, no fireworks. Okay, so make sure you keep everything on the low and low. And a lot of times when we have holidays like this in Panama, people from the interior get off and they go be with their family. Remember, family is everything in Panama, and there is no way they're going to celebrate without being with the familia. Okay, all right. Like I said, we can learn a lot from those Panamanians. So November 2nd, All Saints Day. November 3rd, they're going to celebrate separation from Colombia that happened in 1903. Okay, so you're going to have parades, you're going to have music, you're going to have presentations, you're going to have people flying the flag, although the flag day is really going to be on November 4th. But this is just to express the pride in La Patria, our country, 'tis of thee. Okay, so November 3rd. Oh, before I forget, I saw in the news that they're going to have parades, but they're going to have two routes this year. I think they've had two routes before. It used to be like on Highway 50, but now I hear we're still going to start from Casco Viejo to Balboa because Casco Viejo is where you have the presidential palace. So everything kind of starts there. And then it's going to get up to Calle 26, 26th Street, which is shy before you get to my building. I'm around 33. So I think last year I walked to Casco Viejo doing carnival. Oh my God, that's where people really get and show. They flip the tamborino. I'm like, what? And then they celebrate almost like the HBCU. They go down. It was like, I'm all for it. So that's one route, okay? Casco to Balboa. And then another route they're going to do this year from Iglesia del Carmen to Caja de Ahorro, which is the savings bank at the corner of Via, no, not Via Argentina, I forgot what that road is, but Via España. So where El Motete is, the metro stop Via Argentina and across from Minimed, that area would be the end. So if you want to see the parade, one of the parades you're gonna see. And they say one route gonna have 45 different delegations. So remember, most schools will have their band and they're playing, they're dancing, and the girls, with their boots and oh, it's a sight. And so you're gonna have pollera dancers, you're gonna have indigenous groups playing, displaying. It is just amazing. Um, so you have two routes, okay? And of course, don't forget the Congo dancers. Cologne is going to be represented. And also sometimes we have groups coming from Las Tablas, from Chitre. I don't know if they come from Chiriquí, but I see them come from Bocas because they do the different type of music. They do the calypso from Bocas del Toro. So they're there with their, I'm ready for it. All right, November 3rd. November 4th, they celebrate Symbols Day. Symbols, that flag, bandera, right? That flag. So at that time in November, flags everywhere, right? If you go past like Ciudad del Saber, they're going to have lots of flags on the ground. Every house is going to have a flag display. I bought a little flag. I have a little one. It's not big, but I'm a Panamanian. I'm just celebrating with them and saying, yay, yay. So Flag Day is November 4th. So we're gonna, and all those holidays are general holidays. That means the banks are closed. Make sure you can get your money, pay your rent. Now, I don't know if the stores are closed or not. I don't know that. But I would certainly be prepared, have enough stuff in your home so you don't starve. But if you go on those parades, they have junk food all around. You're going to have chorizos, you're going to have raspao, you're going to have hamburgers, hot dogs, all the good stuff, things that are bad for you. Gotta be there. So November 4th is Flag Day. November 5th, they celebrate Cologne Day. That's where the independence or separation from Colombia was really solidified. And then the last Colombian troops left Panama to go back to Colombia. So not that day is celebrated in Cologne. I'd like to be there to see that because Cologne is a different place. They celebrate a bit differently, right? You have all the Caribbean people there, and I don't know. I'd like to be there for that day. So it's Cologne Day, November 5th. November 6th, no, November 10th, they celebrate in Los Santos. Apparently, I understand from what I read is that the cry for independencia originated in Los Santos. So they're going to celebrate in Los Santos there. Maybe I need to be there too. Hey, I'm here in Panama. said, oh, I don't want to miss out. I've done Carnival. I've done the Semana Santa. Now it's time for me to go to Cologne and Los Santos. Who wants to join me? Yes, 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 yes. So Los Santos on November 10th. And then you have a little break. Hopefully, people mind will turn to work. You don't want to do business in November because it's like everybody's in the fiesta mode, okay? So November 28th is true independence from Spain. And that's a big one with fireworks, more parades. And you know, when we talk about fiestas in Panama, it's just like in the US. It's like manja manja. It's like lots of food. People are going to be cooking and the music and going to the beach and just enjoying life because they are celebrating their independence, their freedom, and their ethnicity and their identity. Oh my God, I don't know how else to say it. All right. So the food situation, I told you, you're going to have food. The vendors are doing all their preparation, getting their licenses and stuff. Sometimes I see the city or the Department of Health checking temperatures, which is good. And security is always a big thing. So if you're going to go on any of those routes that I talk about, make sure you have ID, nothing is expired because they will not let you go through. They put barricades everywhere and they're good at it. Even when I'm leaving my building here, sometime to get onto Balboa, I have to show ID. Yes. So the price of food is starting to show some increase. And then this week with Melissa, a lot of the communities have lost crops, anything that grows on the ground, you know, like your potatoes and carrots and lettuce and stuff like that. Some of the places are underwater. People have lost their home. People have had to be rescued. 3 people died, 2 kids in one of the comarcas, which is indigenous land where the rivers, the rain was nonstop and the rivers were really rough. These 2 girls, 5 and 8, were trying to cross and lost their footing and they found their bodies. And then in Coquelin, they found a young man who was 21 also in the water. So heavy heart because when you have a country with a fragile infrastructure, yes, Panama is more than the city. You know, you come to Panama City and you're like, oh, it reminds you of Miami. Only in Panama City, there are some communities that survive on the bare minimum because when the weather changes, they don't have anywhere to go. People had to be rescued from, you know, in boats because, you know, mudslides, the water level was so high, and people who don't have a lot and just to lose everything, and some of them losing their lives. This is not good. So I've started to see, even before Melissa, some changes in the prices because, you know, that's an opportunity for them to make some money because they know if you're Panamanian, you're going to spend money to put food on the tables. Lots of grapes and apples and stuff like that because are the most abundant um, holiday fruits. The rice, arroz. Hey, you can escape the arroz, but during the holidays, they cook arroz con guandu. Guandu is those small little black beans, peas. I have not seen them anywhere else, but that is what they cook on holidays here. You're not going to see arroz blanco. They're going to have that pig leg, like a leg of lamb, but fresh. And then I posted in one of my videos watching a lady cook it. It's a complicated process. There's a lot they put in that leg of pierna de cerdo, okay? And then they have, you know, they're gonna have like the red potato salad. They call it salsa. Uh, the fiesta, ensalada de papa fiestas, I guess they call it that. And then fruits, and they have the drinks and all that, things that kind of look like, what is this thing? Eggnog. People, they make something like eggnog, but I've never tasted eggnog because I'm not eating raw eggs. No. But then the booze also, the Balboa, the beer, everything's going to be flowing. And of course, I saw, you know, they cook fish around the holidays also. And the price of fish and shrimp was creeping up. But anyway, I want you to be prepared for Fiestas Patrias, okay? And the other thing, you're going to see people wearing all the national patriotic garb clothing. You're going to see a lot of men wearing the guayaba, which is that shirt with the multiple pocket that is embroidered. It's usually white, but I've seen some with patches of color. The ladies are going to wear those white shirt with sometimes off the shoulder with the flap, and they wear the gold jewelry, and they wear the thing. I need to get one of those things for my hair because I do the couple of braids, and I want to put a couple of things in my hair. I wanted to buy some of that, like flowy skirt and a shirt, but they're not cheap. And me being this, I'm a cheap person. I'm like, I don't know, but it would be nice. All right, so be ready for Fiestas Patrias. You in Panama? There was a gentleman who posted something the other day. He's like, oh my God, he went to they had a show with the hat when they celebrate the hat, even though the Panama hat originated from, I think, Ecuador, not in Panama. But anyway, they celebrate that. So November is going to be a month of celebration, celebrating the patria, de ser orgulloso de ser panameña. They're happy, they're proud, and I'm all for it. And I'm just like, yay, yay, yay. Thank you for allowing me to see it and be part of it. Okay? I hope you enjoyed this. This was a history lesson. God loves you. I love you. Au revoir. À la prochaine. Bye.